Dying Light. This is the story of a dragon slayer who becomes the dragon. In the city of Haran, a city overrun by zombies, the surviving civilians must fight to stay alive. They are forced to search for survival supplies and anti-Zin in this hell on Earth. By day, they must contend with zombies and extremist factions, and by night, they must be wary of the even more terrifying Nightwalkers. But just beyond the city walls, the outside world is brightly lit, and the people in the prosperous cities are unaware that in nearby Haran, life and death are happening every moment. And just like the game's name, all that remains in the end is despair and darkness. This is John. Let's begin. The story takes place in the city of Haran. This city was ravaged by the zombie virus in just 2 months. The local defense forces built high walls to try to isolate the virus. Meanwhile, the extremist relief organization GRE continued to supply survival resources and the medication to suppress the virus. In order to find a cure for the virus, GR1 sent their top agent, Kyle Crane, to Haran. Crane's mission was to find a high-ranking official named Suleiman, who had stolen a confidential file detailing the synthesis of a cure for the zombie virus. In the city, only radios can connect to the outside world. For a top agent like Crane, a confidential file seems like a small task, but as soon as he landed, he realized just how dangerous this world truly is. The extremist Rice gang saw the airdrop and want to break Crane's leg and take him back. Crane immediately pulled out his gun to fight back, but the gunfire quickly attracted a horde of zombies. Just when Crane thought he was done for, 2 survivors risked their lives to save him. However, one of them sacrificed himself during the rescue. Crane was injured and fell unconscious. When he woke up, he found himself in a place called the Tower, which was also a safe haven for survivors. He followed the directions and went to meet the tower's leader, Brecken. Along the way, he unexpectedly met the passionate young man, Rahim. From Rahim, Crane learned that in order to treat the bite wounds on his body, the tower had used anti-Zin, a cure that suppresses the virus. Feeling indebted, Crane decided to act. He pushed open the hellish door of the 13th floor to rescue a missing survivor. When he returned to meet Rahim, he found the woman who had saved him earlier. Her name was Jade, and she was also Rahim's sister. Crane wanted to thank her, but Jade said if he wanted to repay her, he should look after Rahim, the reckless young man. Crane then followed Rahim to the rooftop. To survive in Haran, one must use parkour skills to navigate the dangerous city terrain. As the strongest agent, Crane quickly became a parkour master within minutes. However, during the training, Crane had his first seizure, triggered by the bite he received from a zombie. To slow down the mutation, Rahim suggested that Crane seek out Dr. Zir to help him. Using his parkour skills, Crane quickly reached the nearby safe zone and met Dr. Zir. The kind-hearted doctor had not forgotten his mission to save the innocent citizens. He, along with Dr. Camden, who was also trapped in the wilderness, had been tirelessly working on a vaccine. The wilderness was where the virus first broke out. Crane was in the slums, and Dr. Zir injected him with the limited amount of anti-Zin, temporarily slowing down the virus effects. Afterward, Crane helped the tower with various tasks and learned about the survival rules of Haran, including the crucial fact that one should never venture outside at night. Crane eventually met Brecken, the leader of the tower. At that point, the tower was in dire straits, struggling with the scarcity of supplies. Most of Haran's survival supplies and anti-Zin were obtained through GRE airdrops. However, a significant portion of resources was monopolized by Rice's gang, leaving the tower unable to compete against them. Furthermore, the primary target, Suleiman, had gone into hiding and was rumored to be the leader of a gang. This meant that Suleiman was very likely Rice's leader. Bravely, Crane accepted the mission to locate the airdrop. At the same time, he secretly contacted GRE, reporting his suspicion that Rice's leader might be Suleiman. After spending some time navigating the city and honing his skills, Crane had become a master fighter. With martial arts moves reminiscent of Bruce Lee, he fought his way to the airdrop location, where he discovered several crates of anti-Zin. However, GRE, completely disregarding the survivors' desperate need for anti-Zin, ordered Crane to destroy all of it. Their plan was to force the tower to send Crane to negotiate with Rice for anti-Zin. Being new to the situation, Crane didn't fully understand the critical importance of anti-Zin. He secretly kept one vial for himself and burned the rest. Little did he know, this decision would lead to tragic consequences. As he tried to leave, horrifying shrieks echoed through the dark streets of Haran. The Val Lesselos had found Crane. Narrowly escaping back to the tower, Crane lied and claimed he hadn't found any anti-Zin. The tower subsequently decided decided to send someone to negotiate with Rice's gang for supplies. Immediately, Crane volunteered to handle the negotiation. His bravery earned the admiration of the tower residents, with many giving him a thumbs up. While this warmed Crane's heart, it also deepened his sense of guilt. At dawn, Crane dashed through the zombie-infested streets, making his way to Rice's camp. Upon arrival, Rice's second-in-command saw him and felt he looked very familiar. WTF, of course. He was the one who had encountered Crane the day he landed in Harran, but now wasn't the time for revenge. At least, not yet. As expected, Rice, the leader of the gang, was indeed the Suleiman GRE had been searching for. They offered Crane 2 crates of antizin, but the condition was that he had to do something for them in return. Reluctantly, Crane agreed. Crane climbed to the top of a radio tower and repaired the radio transmitter for Rice's gang. Fortunately, this task enabled better communication for all the survivors in Harran. Even Troy, the leader of the survivors in the slums, managed to get in touch with Crane and expressed his gratitude. However, once Crane completed the task, Rice only gave him 5 vials of antizin and even asked him to bring back Jade, the woman who had previously saved him. Crane was forced to leave. Crane's sense of justice led him to contact GRE, telling them that he no longer wished to cooperate with Rice. But GRE insisted that Crane comply fully. This only served to weaken Crane's loyalty to the extremist rescue organization. When Crane returned to the tower with the few vials of antizin, he discovered that the infection had broken out on the 18th floor due to a lack of medical supplies. The entire floor had turned into zombies. In the face of the worsening situation, tower leader Brecken fell into despair and self-blame. Before the virus outbreak, he had been just a parkour instructor, like any ordinary person, simply trying to save enough money to buy a home in Harran, but his parkour skills had helped teach the survivors how to survive in this new world. After comforting Brecken, Crane encountered a drunken Rahim on the rooftop. He wanted to blow up the volatile nest near the tower to provide more safety for the survivors and gather enough antizin. After spending so much time together, Rahim and Crane had become good partners. Crane agreed to help him find explosives. He then contacted GRE, hoping to arrange an airdrop of antizin to the tower. However, GRE flatly refused, stating that Crane's mission was to retrieve the documents, not to act as a charity organization. Since no one would provide him with the antizin, Crane decided to find it on his own. The next day, Crane met with Jade. Together, they discovered a supply station controlled by Rice's gang and decided to infiltrate the supply depot, located in a school. However, once inside, they realized that the depot didn't contain antizin, but rather plastic explosives. Jade took the explosives and left ahead of Crane. While on his way, Crane encountered a green zombie. He then went to see Dr. Zier, who explained that this type of zombie was called a bolter. If they could obtain a fresh sample of a bolter, it might help in the research for a vaccine. Crane killed one that night. After studying the sample, Dr. Zier discovered that it might play a key role in creating a vaccine. Due to limited resources, Zier could only send the sample to Dr. Camden in the slums for further research. Meanwhile, Rahim contacted Crane. Because Crane had previously told him about the explosives, Rahim, eager to help his comrades, secretly took some of his teammates and ventured into the volatile nest, hiding the plan from his sister Jade. This reckless act put Rahim in great danger. Upon hearing this news, Crane rushed to Rahim's location. When he found him again, he had already been bitten by a zombie. Seeing the situation was critical, Crane immediately took the explosives and headed to the volatile's nest. The nest was successfully destroyed. However, when Crane excitedly returned to find Rahim, he was confronted with a scene that was too difficult to accept.
Rahim! Oh, you should have seen it. Oh, God. The whole damn building came down. Jade.
Crane returned to the tower, filled with deep regret and guilt, and explained the situation to Brecken. Just as he finished, Jade overheard the conversation and was unable to accept the news of her brother's death. She chose to escape from reality. In retaliation for Crane's actions with the explosives, Rice's gang came to kidnap Dr. Zier. At this point, Crane's anger reached its peak. He stormed into Rice's base. As the door was kicked open, Crane found Dr. Zier. Dr. Zier revealed that he had already handed over the research materials to Jade and sent her to the slums to find another doctor, Camden. Just as they were about to leave, they realized that everything had been a trap to acquire the research data. Crane and Dr. Zier were then taken to an arena where Rice unleashed a large number of zombies to attack Crane. He and his men watched from the sidelines, indulging in their sick, twisted enjoyment. After Crane killed all the zombies, Rice publicly revealed the confidential documents in front of him and explained the truth about GRE. It turned out that from the very beginning, GRE's real goal in obtaining the confidential documents was not the vaccine synthesis method, but how to weaponize the virus. Their only concern was profit, not saving innocent lives. Upon hearing this, Crane's anger reached its peak once again. When Crane reached Dr. Zier, he found that the doctor had been stabbed in the heart with a dagger. Until his death, Dr. Zier had been thinking about saving the innocent people of Haran. But when Crane went back to seek revenge on Rice, the evil man had vanished without a trace. Crane, now without any antes in, fell into a coma. When he woke up, Brecken had saved him. By this time, Rice's men had already headed to the slums, searching for Jade and Dr. Camden. And because Rice had exposed the confidential documents, GRE had stopped the airdrop of supplies. The survivors had very little time left. In order to help Dr. Camden develop a vaccine quickly, Crane gathered a group of people who could help him reach the slums. But these people were working with Rice and ambushed Crane. Crane defeated them. He arrived at the old city of the slums, the area where the virus had first broken out, a place filled with the scent of death. Since Crane had repaired the radio earlier, he had indirectly helped the survivors here. They were all very grateful to him, and the survivor leader, Troy, was also on good terms with Jade. With his help, Crane was able to contact Jade, but Jade, still grieving the loss of her loved ones, hung up when Crane revealed that GRE had hired him. After GRE's conspiracy came to light, the local defense department decided to launch a nuclear strike to completely eradicate the virus, citing the lack of survivors in Haran as justification. To send a message to the outside world, Troy decided to plant bombs in a tall building, intentionally setting a massive fire. With a chance of success, Crane knew he had to try. As Crane planted the bombs and triggered the explosion, the entire building was engulfed in flames. However, in the next moment, the military jets bombed the building again, in an attempt to cover up the truth that there were still survivors in Haran. Thankfully, Crane's actions caused Jade to reconsider her opinion of him, and she agreed to meet him again. But when Crane arrived at the meeting spot, he found that Rice's men had already taken Jade. If he lost her again, he would forever live in the agony of guilt. Crane then went to the museum where Rice was hiding. When he finally confronted Rice, Rice said, "Since you've taken something that belongs to me, I will take something that belongs to you." After Crane cleared the zombies blocking his way, he found Jade, but the dear friend who had once saved him had already been bitten by a zombie, and Crane, having not injected the antes in, was on the verge of the virus taking over his body. Rice seemed to take great pleasure in the moment, tossing the bottle of antizin that Crane had secretly taken earlier and giving him a choice. In that instant, Crane's mind was pulled into a memory, where every moment he had experienced replayed in his head. Jade was there, comforting him, reminding him that all they could do was accomplish something, making their limited lives meaningful. She, like Rahim, would sacrifice herself to save everyone in Haran if that was the only way. At that moment, Crane felt his helplessness and realized the burden of responsibility he would have to carry. Once again, Crane watched helplessly as his beloved friend turned into a zombie in front of him. After bidding Jade farewell, this former agent snapped the necks of a brother and sister with his own hands. Now, the pursuit of Rice would begin. Rice sent his second-in-command, who was swiftly sent to hell by Crane. To honor Jade's belief, Crane would stop at nothing to prevent the military from dropping a nuclear bomb on Haran. First, he obtained the signal amplifier from Troy. Then, under the pouring rain, he continued his climb up the signal tower, a climb only he could make. At the last moment, just before the military dropped the bomb, Crane broadcasted the message to the outside world, revealing that there were still survivors in Haran.
Hey, do you copy? Do you copy? It's Walter.
Meanwhile, GRE contacted Crane again, offering to send a helicopter for his safe evacuation, but the price would be Dr. Zier's research. Crane, already filled with contempt for GRE, didn't hesitate for a second. He took the research samples he had gotten from Rice's second-in-command and delivered them to Dr. Camden, but the samples alone wouldn't be enough. To truly develop a vaccine against the virus, Crane needed to recover Dr. Zier's research data that Rice had stolen from Jade. Rice had already struck a deal with GRE, and soon a helicopter would come to extract him from Rice's base. Crane would never let Rice leave Heron alive. For revenge, he crawled through the sewers, climbing up to the high building where Rice was hiding. On the rooftop, he found Rice, the one he despised, who tried to deceive Crane with his experimental data. In the end, Crane drove a knife into Rice's throat. Crane successfully recovered Dr. Zier's research data. He also rejected GRE's offer for rescue. Deciding to stay in Haran, he would help Dr. Camden develop the vaccine, giving the innocent survivors a chance at life. Dr. Camden needed time to develop the vaccine, but with the loss of antizin from GRE's supply drops, the survivors no longer had enough time to survive. Tower brought back a wounded survivor who revealed that a group of people on the outskirts of Haran had not only discovered how to become immune to the virus, but could even tame zombies. Using the map from the survivor's possession, Crane found the location on the outskirts, the vast plain. The fields there were also infested with zombies. He quickly reached a village, where the villagers were unwilling to share anything with outsiders. A merchant from the city, Khan, offered to give some clues. It turned out that the villagers worshipped a woman called the Mother. Thanks to their faith, no one had turned into zombies. Khan then said that if Crane wanted more information, he would need to help him find a vehicle and become his personal driver. Crane traveled to a farm that had vehicles, obtained a car, and drove it back to the village. But by then, Khan had been driven out by the villagers. In his place was the village chief's daughter, who pointed Crane down a clearer path. If Crane could help the village take back the water plant from bandits, the villagers would accept him. Crane immediately drove to the water plant and peacefully escorted the bandits out. After resolving the village's water supply issue, the village chief revealed the secret of immunity to the virus. They had indeed gained their immunity through their devotion to the Mother. If Crane wanted to speak with the Mother, he would have to become a faceless and complete several tasks for the villagers. In order to quickly obtain the method to cure the virus and save the survivors in the tower, Crane accepted these tasks. First, he helped restore the village's power supply, then cleared out a night hunter nest. Afterward, as a faceless, he participated in a sacred ceremony held by the Mother. The villagers were praying in front of an altar, and the zombies on the stage did not attack them. As the blue smoke was released, Crane felt extremely dazed the moment he inhaled it, and the zombies near him did not attack. It seemed that the so-called immunity was likely connected to this blue smoke. When the ceremony ended, they told Crane that this blue mist is only temporarily delayed the effects of the virus, and its supply was limited. Recently, they had discovered that 3 of their companions had gone missing. If Crane was willing to accept the task, the Mother would grant him the blue mist and the method of use. Crane then headed toward a nearby cave. Inside, he found 2 dead faceless and remnants of Rice's gang. It seemed that the last faceless had been taken by Rice's men. With no more leads, Crane decided to first help a scholar named Attila. To help with the research on the prophecy of the sun god, Crane went to investigate 3 ancient stone monoliths. At the sun god temple on the mountaintop, he discovered a red mask. After bringing the mask back, Attila revealed a prophecy that the Mother cared deeply about. The prophecy roughly said that when the plague ravages the land and humanity turns into beasts, one person will receive guidance from the heavens and through sacrificing themselves will be baptized in light. However, when Crane returned to Attila's home, he found only a letter that Attila had left for him, and Attila himself, wearing the mask, had sacrificed himself. It turned out that Attila had been suffering from cancer, and he believed that the prophecy referred to him. Meanwhile, the cult also discovered the kidnapped faceless individual. Crane immediately went to the barn occupied by Rice's gang. There, he found the barely alive faceless, who used his last breath to say the word lighthouse. Without hesitation, Crane headed straight to the lighthouse. But when he reached the top, he was ambushed by Khan. It turned out that Khan had become the new leader of Rice's gang. They had also sought the immunity to the virus and had stolen the vials. However, since they didn't know how to use it, they interrogated the faceless and learned the location of the Mother. At that moment, Rice's gang below at the lighthouse discovered Crane and opened fire. Khan was killed by his own men. To rescue the mother, Crane rushed toward the dam where the mother was located. Once inside, he found only the faceless and the wreckage left behind by Rice's men. The mother then told Crane her past. She had once been the wife of an army colonel. When the virus outbreak occurred, both she and her husband were bitten by zombies. Her husband died from his injuries, but not before giving her a cigarette case containing a map, a key, and a password. Following the map, the mother reached the dam. Using the password, she opened a container and found several vials of blue mist. As she was about to turn into a zombie, she drank the mist in one gulp. From that moment on, the mother became a volatile. This meant that while the vials could delay the effects of the virus, eventually becoming a volatile was inevitable. But once the vials are consumed, they will cause the person to transform into the mother in a short period of time, resulting in her current form. During the day, the mother retains her self-awareness, but at night she is only driven by instinct. Unable to overcome these instincts, the mother even tore her own child to pieces. So she silently swore that she would become the mother who would save her followers from the flames of hell. The prophecy of the sun god made the mother believe that Crane was the one she had been waiting for all along. The military had left a nuclear bomb here. If Crane chose to activate it, the correct code to start the bomb was written in the letter Attila left before his death. Activating the bomb would completely destroy Haran. However, for Crane, if he did that, he would truly be betraying Lashen and Jade. There was still hope for the survivors of Haran in the tower. As long as he could take the vials back to the tower, the day would come when the doctor could finally develop a vaccine. Seeing that Crane rejected her request, the mother poured all the vials into his mouth and began fighting him. After the mother was defeated, Crane immediately took vials, hoping to rush back. But the vials inside him began to react. When he staggered back into the city, the sun was already setting. From the terrified eyes of a mother and her child, Crane saw his own mutated body. At that moment, he finally understood. The antidote didn't exist. The Dragon Slayer would eventually become the evil dragon. All that was left for Crane was helplessness. As the sun set, Haran echoed with Crane's tragic howl. I'm John, and let's continue with the Dying Light 2 story recap. Shortly after the virus outbreak, the Extreme Rescue Organization, GRE, successfully developed a vaccine to combat the virus. However, for military purposes, a new mutated virus was successfully developed. An accident occurred in the lab, where a mutated virus capable of airborne transmission spread rapidly across the world in a short amount of time. Humanity thus entered the Dark Ages. 15 years later, only a few survivors were scattered across settlements around the world. Due to the vast distances between these settlements, only pilgrims could cross the dangerous wilderness on their own and transmit information to the outside world. The protagonist is a pilgrim named Aiden. To find his sister Mia, Aiden ventures into a city called Villador, which is isolated from the rest of the world. Villador holds the last known trace of his sister. Outside Villador, Aiden meets another pilgrim named Spike, who introduces him to an informant who can find Aiden's bitter enemy, Waltz. In Aiden's memory, GRE subjected him and his sister Mia to inhumane virus experiments when they were children. Waltz was the one in charge of the experiments, and a fire at the lab caused the siblings to be separated. Aiden travels to a dark, bloody tunnel filled with death to meet the informant. However, he encounters volatiles and is bitten. Luckily, the informant arrives just in time and uses ultraviolet lights to drive off the volatiles. However, the virus in Aiden's body begins to take effect, causing him to have a seizure. Aiden quickly loses consciousness. When he wakes up again, the informant has been severely injured by a group of extremists and tells Aiden to take the key on him that can unlock all GRE-related facilities. Aiden then heads to a restaurant in the city to meet a girl named Levon, who can help him find his sister. Aiden hides in an air vent while Levon stays behind to buy him some time. It turns out that the higher-ups of the extremist group are none other than Waltz. Their goal is also to obtain the key. Aiden, struggling with his impending mutation, makes his way to the marketplace. At the marketplace, survivors attempt to hang Aiden. Just in time, a man named Hacken throws a knife to save Aiden and even uses a viral to save him from the brink of death. Wait, isn't that David Bell? Is he here in the Dying Light universe to teach everyone parkour? Haken tells Aiden that if he wants to survive in Villador, he must wear a body marker as a pass, as the city is controlled by 3 major factions. The survivors in the marketplace are made up of a group of civilians who were the ones that previously tried to hang Aiden. The second faction is the Peacekeepers, primarily composed of soldiers. While they protect the safety of the citizens, their protection of the marketplace feels more like domination. The last faction is the extremist renegades, led by Waltz. In order to get the highly coveted body marker for Aiden, the two of them head to an abandoned hospital. Inside the dimly lit hospital, they navigate through zombie-infested hallways to reach the deeper parts of the building, where they manage to find the body marker. However, just as they were about to leave, a volatile appears. Volatiles fears sunlight and ultraviolet rays, which allows them to escape. With the help of Hakon, Aiden finally gets the body marker. However, Hakon helped Aiden because he wants to leave Villador and move to the coast. As a pilgrim, Aiden surely knows how to survive in the wilderness. They strike a deal, and in order to continue searching for his sister, Aiden heads to a restaurant in the city center. To get to the city center, Aiden has to pass through the subway tunnels guarded by the Peacekeepers. Hakon is responsible for drawing the Peacekeepers' attention that night, while Aiden quietly crosses the tunnels. However, Aiden is spotted by the Peacekeepers and taken to the interrogation room. Seeing the potential in Aiden as a pilgrim, the Peacekeeper commander, Ader, asks Aiden to help find the murderer of the previous commander. If Aiden can accomplish this, Ader promises to let him pass through the tunnel to the city center. Aiden agrees to cooperate. Based on clues about the previous commander's death in the marketplace, Aiden goes to find the marketplace leader, Carl, and his second-in-command, Sophie. To gain their trust and investigate the murderer, Aiden takes on various tasks. Among them, Aiden risks his life to save Sophie's brother, Barney, and heads to the Shore District. During this time, the marketplace is raided by bandits, and when Aiden arrives, even the leader, Carl, has been captured. After the raid, Barney doesn't thank Aiden, but instead criticizes him for being too slow. Sophie explains that Barney is still just a kid. Aiden goes to the bandit camp and rescues Carl. The Peacekeepers, suspecting that Sophie and Barney might be the ones who killed the previous commander, raid Barney's hideout to take them in for questioning. Aiden, ignoring Hakon's warnings, goes to the hideout to avoid conflict, but during the mission, Aiden contacts Commander Ader, only to be caught by Barney. Without giving Aiden a chance to explain, Barney immediately accuses Aiden of being a traitor who brought the Peacekeepers. Aiden has no choice but to leave. He returns to the Peacekeeper base to meet Ader. To force Aiden to cooperate, Ader decides to take control of the water tower. Whoever controls the city's only water source will control the entire city. For the sake of his sister's whereabouts, Aiden takes on the task. Using his agility, he silently takes control of the water tower and hands it over to the Peacekeepers. With the water tower seized, Aiden is able to reach Barney's hideout. As expected, he finds the tattoo of the previous commander, now severed. Just as Barney returns with the evidence in hand, Aiden has no interest in hearing his explanation. Barney is immediately captured by Aiden. Now that Aiden has helped Ader find the murderer, Ader arranges for Aiden and Hakon to enter the underground tunnels. However, they get separated when the power goes out. Aiden can only give the important key to Hakon so he can restart the facility's power, but Hakon is unable to find a solution. Just as Aiden is about to give up, Peacekeeper sends one of subordinates, Anderson, to help them. It turns out that survivors blew up the windmill, causing a power failure in the subway station. Anderson then gives Aiden a bomb to create an exit from the tunnels. After leaving the tunnels, Aiden runs into Barney, who has been rescued by the survivors. Unfortunately for Barney, he is immediately defeated by Aiden. Upon learning that Anderson is still trapped in the tunnel, Aiden, remembering that this soldier once saved him, rushes back to the tunnel and restarts the power. But it's too late. The lack of sunlight and UV rays for an extended period has turned Anderson into a zombie in the elevator. Fighting back his grief, Aiden's only option is to help Anderson find peace. Aiden meets up with Hakon again and prepares to find another way to the city center, but then a cold arrow strikes Hakon. As Aiden tends to Hakon's wounds, he discovers the weapon marks of the previous commander on Hakon's body. The real murderer wasn't Barney, it was Hakon. Hakon reluctantly admits the truth. It was Walls who ordered him to kill the commander and frame the survivors, and Hakon did it to protect himself and leave the city. When Aiden realizes that Hakon has been working for Walls, he immediately demands to know Walls' location. Walls is hiding in a car factory. Aiden retrieves the GRE key and, despite Hakon having once saved him, decides to spare his life. With that, their debts are settled. The urgent task now is to deal with the assassin who shot the arrow. The assassin is on a rooftop across the street. Aiden uses all his strength to quickly track down the killer. To Aiden's surprise, the assassin turns out to be a woman. Aiden knows that he needs to find Walls first. He contacts Commander Ator and, along with them, heads to the car factory. In the tunnels, they successfully capture Walls, but Waltz uses the virus to give himself terrifying strength. The group is powerless in front of him, and Aiden can only watch as Walls takes the GRE key from his hands and knocks him unconscious with a single blow. When Aiden wakes up, his body begins to mutate. He watches as Walls kills everyone left behind. Aiden only regains his sanity when exposed to sunlight. He immediately heads toward the car factory, where he catches up with Walls again. But Aiden is no match for him. Walls uses the GRE key to activate some kind of facility. After finishing what he set out to do, Walls plans to end Aiden's life. At that moment, Aiden calls out his sister Mia's name. Upon hearing this, Walls is shocked and finally speaks Aiden's name. However, the female assassin suddenly injures Walls. Seeing this, Aiden grabs the GRE key and escapes with the assassin. Throughout their escape, a crazed Walls pursues them relentlessly. With the help of the assassin, Aiden finally manages to evade Walls. They finally have a moment to introduce themselves. It turns out that the female assassin is none other than Levon, the person Aiden had been searching for. She was also one of the children Walls used for his experiments. Aiden has no memory of her, but since they both hate Walls with a passion, they decide to team up. Under Levon's guidance, Aiden finally makes it to the city center. After many years of darkness, the city lights flicker back to life.
They're back on. They're fucking coming back on. You see that, Aiden? You see that? It's beautiful. Oh, I can't believe it. No, I just can't believe it.
Afterward, Aiden arrived at the restaurant, where the owner was Frank. Frank had once been the leader of the Night Runners, a group capable of overcoming humanity's fear of the unknown in the dark and saving survivors who needed help. However, after a failed mission, many of his members perished. Unable to cope with the loss, Frank resorted to alcohol to numb himself every day. Lawan, on the other hand, was influenced by the Night Runner's creed. Becoming a competent Night Runner was her dream. To help Aiden, Lawan came up with a plan. Using the GRE key in Aiden's possession, they could access the GR1 database to find out the whereabouts of Aiden's sister, Mia. The issue was that in order to access the database, they needed a terminal. At that moment, the extremist militia came to seize the GRE key. This action also attracted the attention of the Peacekeeper leader, Jack. Jack led the Peacekeepers to help repel the attack by the extremists. After witnessing Aiden's skills, Jack became interested in recruiting him. Thus, Jack wanted Aiden to help activate the communications device on the top floor of the VNC tower. If the Peacekeepers could control the communications, they could take control of all of Villador. In exchange for Aiden's help, Jack promised to provide the location of a former GRE scientist. Aiden could use the scientist's knowledge of the GRE facilities to find a terminal, and from there, trace his sister Mia's whereabouts. During the preparations to reach the top of the VNC tower, Aiden met Lieutenant Rowe and the merchant Juan, who had a large stock of UV lights. Once everything was ready, Jack sent a few peacekeepers to accompany Aiden to the top of the tower. As they took the elevator up, the joking Lieutenant Rowe hummed the Death March.
It's footwork from here. What floor are you on?
30.
So you got another 50 to the roof.
Careful, Wispowski.
Looks clear.
In the blink of an eye, the entire squad was wiped out. Lieutenant Rowe also sacrificed himself in the end. Aiden contacted Lawan, hoping she could ask Frank about the escape plan. Frank told Aiden that the Night Runners were struck down in the VNC tower. He also firmly believed that Aiden could never reach the top of the tower. However, Frank still guided Aiden to the grappling hook left by the Night Runners. Using the hook, Aiden managed to reach the outside of the building. However, Frank didn't know that Aiden was an unparalleled climbing expert. Upon reaching the rooftop, Aiden was faced with two choices. One was to hand control of the communication system to Peacekeeper leader Jack. Jack would then reveal the location of the GRE scientist, which would help Aiden find his sister Mia. The other choice was to give control to Frank. As the leader of the Night Runners, Frank could use the communication system to spread peace and hope to the outside world. Moved by his compassion for the survivors, Aiden chose to give control of the communications to Frank. After taking control, Frank regained his confidence as the leader of the Night Runners and began spreading hope to the outside world. Lawan, worried about Aiden, came rushing over. Aiden embraced her, but was immediately met with a slap. It was clear that their feelings for each other were not ordinary, but then a heartbreaking scene occurred. Aiden went to Lawan's old room to grab her new shoes. There, he accidentally discovered a photo, and to his surprise, her ex-boyfriend in the picture was none other than Hakan, who had once worked for Waltz. Aiden immediately confronted Lawan. It turned out that Hakan had believed going to the VNC Tower was a suicide mission. Not only did he refuse to participate in that mission, but he also took some of the personnel with him. Lawan saw this as a betrayal of the Night Runners, which is why she swore to hunt down Hakan. The next day, Hakan met Aiden at a church. His purpose for the meeting was to get back the GRE key. Initially, Hakan had helped Waltz only to monitor him, but Waltz had threatened Lawan's life, forcing Hakan to serve him. In the current situation, Hakan had no choice but to kill Aiden in order to save his own life from Waltz. At the crucial moment, Lawan arrived and shot Hakan dead with an arrow. Then there was good news. Frank had successfully contacted the GRE scientist and arranged a meeting with Aiden near the Survivors Church in the Old Town District. When Aiden returned to the Survivors Church, it had already been attacked by the Peacekeepers. Most of the people there lost their lives during the resistance, and Sophie, who was lucky enough to survive, had completely lost her will to fight. Aiden found the GRE scientist at the observatory. They discovered a terminal there, but the records didn't mention Mia. The record about Aiden stated that his body had a higher than average tolerance, which might explain why his physical abilities were superior to those of ordinary people. The place where Waltz had conducted experiments on them was an installation known as X-13, and just as Waltz activated the full power of the system, the GRE security protocol, which had been paused for many years, was also reactivated. This meant that the city center would soon be hit by a missile attack. Waltz's goal seemed to be to restart the experiments conducted at X-13. Aiden immediately informed Frank and rushed toward the facility, but Waltz appeared there. Losing all patience in his quest to obtain the GRE key, Waltz launched an attack. But at this moment, Aiden uncontrollably began to mutate again. The GRE scientist tried to help, but Aiden, now mutated, killed her. Waltz also took the GRE key from him. The missile attack on the city center had begun, and fortunately, Lawan managed to rescue Aiden from the ruins. Since the bombing would turn the entire city into rubble, Colonel Williams, leader of the extreme rebels, arranged a meeting with Frank and Peacekeeper leader Jack to discuss countermeasures. It was Colonel Williams who had previously stopped the bombing, so Frank and Jack decided to take the rebels' vehicle and head to the rebel stronghold. However, an arrow struck Frank. When the rebel vehicle escaped, Aiden immediately pursued it to find out the truth. He quickly located the rebel vehicle's hideout and threatened the driver to take him to the rebel stronghold. On the way, Jack informed Aiden that Frank didn't survive. Once Aiden entered the stronghold, he met Colonel Williams. Surprisingly, when the colonel learned of Frank's death, he seemed shocked. He claimed that he hadn't sent anyone to assassinate Frank. He explained that 11 years ago, he had stopped the missile and was still trying to find a way to stop it now. He had no reason to kill Frank. Aiden thought for a moment and chose to trust the colonel. However, Peacekeeper leader Jack wanted revenge for this betrayal. The colonel immediately arranged for Aiden to be sent to the X-13 facility where Waltz was. But on the way, Jack, leading the Peacekeepers, blocked their path. Due to Frank's recent broadcast, the former Night Runners had regained their confidence. In the critical moment, the Night Runners arrived and revealed the truth. It was Jack who had assassinated Frank. Upon hearing this, the Peacekeepers immediately stripped Jack of his leadership. Aiden was allowed to continue on his path, and as he reached the facility, Lawan caught up with him. She wanted to join him, as Waltz was also the one she hated the most. Aiden had no choice but to let her come along. When they entered the facility, they discovered Waltz's plot. It turned out that Waltz had stockpiled a massive amount of supplies here. He had long known that restarting the experiments would trigger the missile attack, turning Villador into ruins. This place was like an ark, capable of sustaining him with supplies for a long time. Along the way, Lawan was injured while protecting Aiden, and from that point, Aiden had to continue alone. As he ventured deeper into the facility, Aiden realized this was the very place where the experiments had taken place. And then, Waltz appeared, holding Mia in his arms. First, Waltz safely placed Mia, then he turned to Aiden and revealed the truth behind everything. It turns out that Waltz is Mia's father, and Mia is not Aiden's sister. They were just very good friends. When Mia was infected with the virus, only Aiden's unique physical condition could help Waltz develop a cure. At that time, the virus spread too quickly and the experiment was interrupted by a massive fire. For all these years, Waltz had been searching for a way to save Mia. Now, with the missile bombing and the restart of the X-13 facility, if the missile strike is stopped, the X-13 facility will shut down and Mia will die along with it. Thus, a pilgrim who only wanted to save the city and a father who only wanted to save his daughter fought against each other. At this point, Aiden had mutated again, and the two engaged in hand-to-hand combat. In the end, Aiden defeated Waltz. Just then, a weakened Mia appeared before them.
You've been trying to cure me for years. I don't want it anymore. Save those people, Aiden.
With the key destroyed by the chemicals agent, Aiden could only take care of Mia first and then inform Lawan. The only way to stop the missile strike now was for Lawan to manually detonate the explosives. At this moment, Aiden faces a choice: save the city or stop Lawan from detonating the explosives. If he chooses to stop Lawan, the entire city will be destroyed by the missile strike. Here, we choose to save the city. So Aiden hurriedly picked up Mia and ran towards safety. Mia, having lost access to medical facilities, took one last look at the sunset before passing away, ending her painful life. As for Villador, the missile strike was avoided, and with the help of the Night Runners, the city slowly regained stability. As for Aiden,
From what I've heard, yeah, his sister. But they said she was so weak, she lived only for a couple more hours. He stayed with her, buried her under an old oak tree. Then he turned toward the horizon and kept on walking. Poor guy. If it wasn't for him, there wouldn't be a single brick still standing in this city.
So why didn't he stay?
They said he was starting to change, taking a drug that was destroying him. People like him are better off on the road.
if Aiden had chosen to stop Lawan, she would have joined him on the journey. But for now, let Aiden's fond memories remain in this city. This is the end of the story of Dying Light 2. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, follow my channel, and share it with your friends. I'm John, and I'll see you in the next video.